This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Thursday, and everybody's going to think I'm on early because there's a police chase, and not the real reason, which is because I fucked up my grocery order, and my food is going to get here a little after 8 o'clock, so I'm going to try to get through this as quick as I can so I can fucking eat. Energy Flow, Warlord, Igloo, good evening. I don't know what you're talking about, bald my ass. My hair, just now, starting to look real good. Loving having my long hair back. Also, Trump no longer winning a majority of the vote, falling below 50%. Those votes continue to be counted. Maybe come Inauguration Day or something. Maybe. Minty, good evening. I also think on Inauguration Day is when we will retire the fell from the coconut tree drop. Here's the thing, is the first time I shaved it, I wanted to shave it. I had some stuff going on with my scalp. I was like, I want to shave my head, get my scalp in order, grow my hair back out. This time I did not want to shave it and did not expect that I would have to. We'll see. We'll see. They're still counting votes, but man, she got to pick up like 1.5 million votes in order to win that popular vote. And I don't know if there's 1.5 million still out there. Well, she gets about 60-70% of votes that are still outstanding, somewhere along those lines, like with the mail-in vote and shit. I don't know that there's 7 million votes out there to still be counted in order to get me over that threshold. Something was going on at Mar-a-Lago today, but I've yet to get any update. Some people are saying apparently ambulances are part of the motorcade nowadays. But multiple ambulances seen leaving Mar-a-Lago just a few hours ago. But no news on that front. Avalon, good evening. We got all kinds of news to be covering. We're going to start off tonight talking about the thing that I know you guys are all happy for. Arrest warrants issued for the head of Hamas, who I thought died, but more importantly, for Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel. Netanyahu has responded. The Pentagon has responded. We're going to bring you all those responses. Putin apparently launching new missiles. This comes as we are still investigating underseas cables being cut. We're going to have senators reacting to the bombshell news earlier today that Matt Gaetz removing his name from contention for the AG position, or consideration for the AG's position. I wonder why he might have done that. High school predator. Yeah, fair enough, Avalon. That is true. But Netanyahu's a little more, Netanyahu wants to be able to travel around the world and not be a pariah. Putin don't give a shit. So, police report of the rape allegation against Pete Hegseth comes to light. Hegseth responds. Linda McMahon, Trump's pick to head the Department of Education, accused of aiding child abuse. Bob Casey has conceded in Pennsylvania. Oh, we have a pick for Trump's Solicitor General. I wrote down AG. Solicitor General. I know the name. Like, I didn't... This has happened in the last little bit, and the name is Pam Bondi, and I know that name, and I don't know where I know it from. I want to say like it goes back to the Bush administration. I know that name from somewhere. We're going to find out here in a little bit. Oh, Pam Bondi defended him in the impeachment. Maybe that's where I know the name from, but I feel like she's been around longer than that. The world's 18th richest man has been indicted. A Texas county public health official has been indicted on a felony charge. Couple's been charged with multi-million-dollar theft of Lululemon merchandise. We have confirmation of the man who faked his death in a kayaking accident. He has contacted the cops, but says he ain't coming back. Also, earlier today, the Illinois Supreme Court overturning the conviction of Jussie Smollett. And I've got Fox News reaction to it. That's what I wanted to watch. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Good evening, M. Lord. Good evening. As I said, I'm on early so that I can get my grocery order when it comes here in about an hour. So we're going to try to fly through this because Justin is starving. So let's get to it. Clinically, good evening. I beat you tonight. You didn't get the chance to comment. Balls. Already my shit ain't working. Hell of a night we're gonna have here. I'm gonna have to go, I'm gonna have to switch browsers again for this. It is bullshit. I downloaded Brave. I just haven't, set it up for me yet. So maybe that's what we'll go with for the on-screen. I use Firefox personally. I have Chrome open with the Twitch control panel, and that's where I take calls from over here. And then I was using Opera to to show you guys videos. Hey, Smokey, what's going on? Oh my God, where's my video? Nothing's working right tonight. I may just give up. May just give up on the stream. Maybe come back later and play music or something. No, we got a lot of news to cover. I can't just give up. Damn it, Smokey. So once again, we're starting off tonight talking about Israel, the International Criminal Court issuing arrest warrants for Benjamin Netanyahu and the head of Hamas, who I already thought was dead.
The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants.
Holiday, welcome in. Igloo.
Benjamin Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for crimes against humanity and war crimes committed during Israel's assault on.
I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I'll eat your ass.
On Gaza. In a statement, the ICC said the Israeli leaders had, quote, intentionally and knowingly deprived the civilian population in Gaza of objects indispensable to their survival, including food, water, and medicine and medical supplies, as well as fuel and electricity. The ICC also issued an arrest warrant for Hamas military commander Mohammad Deif, though Israel's military claims it killed Deif in a July airstrike. The ICC arrest warrants come a week after a UN special committee found Israel's actions in Gaza since October 2023 are, quote, consistent with genocide, including using starvation as a weapon of war and recklessly inflicting civilian casualties.
In related news, on Wednesday, the United States vetoed a Gaza ceasefire resolution at the UN Security Council for the 4th time, and the U.S. Senate rejected a resolution brought by Senator Bernie Sanders that sought to block the sale of U.S. tank rounds, bomb kits, and other lethal weapons to Israel. 19 senators supported blocking the arms. For more on all of this, we're joined by Akbar Shahed Ahmed, senior diplomatic correspondent for HuffPost. His latest piece is exclusive. White House says Democrats who oppose weapons to Israel are aiding Hamas. Ahmed, thank you so much for being with us as you write your book on the Biden administration in Gaza called Crossing the Red Line. Clearly, the ICC has ruled that today by issuing arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as the former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Can you talk about the significance of this move?
Yeah, Amy, this is just an absolutely huge development, and it's significant for a number of reasons. It's significant because the ICC has come out and amplified and affirmed the allegations of crimes against humanity, of war crimes. This is one more international body. These are trained international judges with a great deal of respect. This is a court that most of the world is a member of. And they're coming out and saying, look, we think there are reasonable grounds to believe that these major international red lines have been crossed by the Israelis. What's really important to remember is that this isn't just a decision about Israel. By extension, it fundamentally is a decision about the United States, which has been the ultimate enabler of Israel's offensives in Gaza and Lebanon, which are under consideration by the ICC. And even in this ICC statement today, they point out that in the situations where Israel has addressed concerns over what it describes as starvation as a method of warfare, right, depriving civilians, Palestinians of food, water, medical equipment, Israel has really only done so in an extremely arbitrary and what the ICC judges call conditional way in response to the US. So fundamentally, Amy, what we're seeing is the ICC is saying yet again that Israel and the US, as its major enabler and backer, are in the dock and will continue to be in the dock for years to come. This kind of adds to a broader picture in which there are now ICC warrants for the sitting Israeli Prime Minister and former Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, who remains a significant politician in Israel. Simultaneously, there's the genocide case at the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, which is ongoing and will be ongoing for years to come. And there's the Geneva Conventions Conference underway next year regarding kind of similar issues, right? Violations of
it shows that the
war and these really
tides are turning against Israel
abuses that are alleged. So the U.S. and Israel will be kind of on trial on the international stage for years to come.
So, Akbar, would you say that this move is mostly a symbolic one? Because as you pointed out, of course, most countries are members of the International Criminal Court. But in this instance, perhaps most importantly, neither Israel nor the U.S. are.
Right, Nermeen. So, and that's something that the ICC judges did get into today, right? Because Israel said, look, the International Criminal Court doesn't have jurisdiction over us. That said, the state of Palestine is a member of the court, and that's where this becomes a relevant and interesting thing, because you've seen European nations recognize Palestine as a state. You've seen Palestine join the United Nations General Assembly over just last year. So, yes, while the U.S. and Israel...
Apparently Starmer in England is supporting it.
The ICC, by the ICJ, of Israel's conduct in Gaza and the occupied West Bank.
Rare Starmer W.
There's a growing international push to kind of challenge that. Right, and I think you will see the Biden administration and the incoming Trump administration assertively push back against the ICC. The Trump administration did actually target the ICC directly when President Trump was last in office, threatening to put sanctions on ICC officials. And we also know from reporting that the Israelis have spied
Thank you, Munster Balls.
on the ICC themselves, according to reporting by The Guardian. So yes, there will be increased...
You know, I have never seen the word debonair spelled out. Is that how you spell it? I've only ever heard it. I've never seen it, never read it in a book or anything. That is my first time ever seeing it, I believe. Now, I also said that I'd never had Bojangles before, and Sparkle's like, you've had Bojangles with me twice. So, it's possible. But I do believe that's the first, because, like, it looks weird.
It's pressure, but I think we're really in a place that no one thought we would be even a few months ago, right? I think even the prospect of...
Not trying to put you on the spot or anything.
Getting these
You spelled it correctly.
It was initially thought that would be quite quick. It's taken a long time. The fact that judges were able to issue those warrants suggests that even though it's an uphill battle to get this international scrutiny, there's a real determination and clear will. And we've seen a lot of states turn around and say over 13 months, right, since the October 7th attack by Hamas within Israel that did spark this current round of fighting, there have been calls to say we don't want this to escalate, right? The U.S.'s allies...
Don, welcome in, Flash.
Said, we want to resolve this. We don't want you on trial. Can the U.S. and Israel please change course?
Holiday.
And what you've seen is a defiance from Tel Aviv and from Washington to say, actually, no, we're continuing these wars. So that does take it to a different forum to kind of change the policy.
All the time, Holiday.
And Akbar, could you also, while we're looking at the way in which international organizations, multilateral ones, are responding to this, what about the latest vote at the Security Council and the fact that the U.S. blocked it for the fourth time, a ceasefire vote?
It's really striking at this point, right, to see the Biden administration totally alone. And you see how this develops over the course of the war.
Totally alone.
The U.S. was able to get Britain, even France kind of abstaining, standing with them. And now 13 months in, where conduct hasn't changed, and you still have daily strikes that are killing dozens, sometimes over 100 civilians. You have a mounting death toll of mostly women and children. The U.S. is totally alone, where it's shielding Israel on the world stage diplomatically. And this is really important to see in the context of the Biden administration as an outlier, even among American presidents and administrations. When President Barack Obama was in office, after he was in the lame duck period that President Biden is in now, he actually did abstain at the United Nations Security Council and said, you know what, go ahead and pass a resolution. That
even Clinton was pretty good on Palestine.
Because tacitly, the U.S. acknowledged there was a basis, there were credible grounds for that resolution, which in that
sacrificial MILF.
Really settlement activity.
Good evening.
Here, what you're seeing from the Biden administration, even in their dying days, right, 2 months to go, there's an...
Man, and knowing that Bill Clinton was so much better on Palestine, jeez. Would we have been better off if Hillary Clinton was leaving the White House right now? Woof.
Tennessee, a defiance and a real commitment to shielding Israel, even if they are totally alone against now their closest allies, Britain, France, and everyone else on the Security Council. So I think the context of that veto kind of presages whatever may come in the next 2 months in terms of the Biden administration allowing any...
Well, you would think Israel just being occupied by Jewish people would kind of turn the chuds on them.
UN scrutiny of the wars.
Parentheses, parentheses, parentheses.
Akbar, I wanted to play Palestine's envoy to the United Nations, Majid Bamia, speaking yesterday.
There is no right to mass killing of civilians.
Accuse him of dual loyalty, Flash.
Entire civilian population. There is no right to forcibly displace a people. And there is no right to annexation. This is what Israel is doing in Gaza. Maybe for some we have the wrong nationality, the wrong faith, the wrong skin color. But we are humans. And we should be treated as such. Is there a UN charter for Israel that is different from the charter you all have? Tell us. Is there an international law for them, an international law for us? Do they have the right to kill, and the only right we have is to die?
That seems to be the way the United States interprets it. Yes, it does. It's sad. Netanyahu has responded to the warrants issued by the ICC. Is he going to speak to us in English? Nope, he's not, is he? He's not.
זהו יום שחור בתולדות העמים. בית הדין הבינלאומי בהאג,
fuck you, motherfucker.
לאנושות,
Usually speaks in English because, once again, he's American. When he's wanting to portray his message to a Western audience, he speaks in English. This is a black day in the history of nations.
זהו יום שחור בתולדות העמים. בית הדין
The
הבינלאומי
International Court of Justice in The Hague, which is established to protect humanity,
הפך היום
has today become the enemy of humanity. The biased court has decided to issue arrest warrants
נגדי ונגד שר הביטחון
against me and my former defense minister Yoav Gallant
האשמה מופרכת
and the
מן
fundamentally unfounded accusation that we have allegedly committed crimes against humanity,
בעוד שהאמת
while the truth is completely the opposite.
זוהי פשיטת רגל
This is
מוסרית.
moral bankruptcy.
היא פוגעת
It violates the natural right of democracies to defend themselves against murderous terrorism.
זהו צעד אנטישמי.
This is an anti-Semitic... Yep. There it is. That's why he's speaking in Hebrew. This is an anti-Semitic step that has one goal:
שיש לו מטרה אחת.
to deter me, to deter us from exercising our natural right
להגן
to
על
defend ourselves against enemies
הקמים עלינו
who
להשמידנו.
are rising up against
זהו
us.
יום שחור בתולדות העמים. בית הדין
That piece of shit. I have no idea, Flash. I have no clue how any of that stuff works. And under Trump, I'm sure we're going to do whatever we can to protect this motherfucker. Even if, like, Israel turns... Remember, he is indicted in Israel. I wouldn't doubt that if Israel turns on him and wants to imprison him, that the Trump administration would protect him. Here is what the current Pentagon has to say about the situation.
Say you're defending. The ICC today issued 2 warrants against for the Prime Minister of Israel, Mr. Netanyahu, and former Defense Minister, Mr. Gallant, alleging that they committed crimes against humanity, war crimes, including using starvation as a tool of war, a weapon of war. What do you think of that decision, and will it cause the department and the secretary to rethink the support you're providing Israel with in its war in Gaza?
Thanks, Fadi, for the question. So, the United States fundamentally rejects the court's decision to issue these arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials.
Why?
We remain concerned by the prosecutor's rush to seek arrest warrants and some of the processes that this has played out in. And again, we've been very clear that the ICC does not have jurisdiction over this matter. So, we're in coordination with our partners.
The International Criminal Court.
Discussing next steps. I'm not going to have much more for you, as I refer you to the State Department and the White House for a little bit more. But
doesn't have jurisdiction.
In terms of our support,
seems like exactly who would need.
Continuing to support.
Who would have jurisdiction?
With the assistance it needs in its, fight against
Alien. Thank you for the raid.
But that doesn't mean that we can't continue to make clear our concerns on the conduct and how they are conducting those operations, whether it be...
it was obvious what was going on a month into this.
The decision based on, I guess, technical...
If you're asking me, it's like a year too late.
Of the allegations. Committing war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Again, we don't see eye to eye on where the ICC is. And as I've said, we reject the court's decision to issue these arrest warrants. So I think that pretty much implies that we don't agree with that decision.
Okay, so what is the legal opinion you're basing your rejection on? Did
exactly.
the department issue any legal opinion on what's been happening in Gaza? Did you study any incidents that are mentioned in the ICC decision?
I'm not aware of a formal legal opinion being issued by this department.
Yeah, I didn't know aliens streamed either.
Some of the things that...
I don't know if I'm following you.
Either public reports or private reports or reports from, NGOs, we always take those seriously, and we've had those conversations from here at the podium. And when Minister Gallant was in the seat previously, the secretary was regularly engaging with him about what was happening in Gaza, what was happening on that that northern border in Lebanon. And I mean, we take it so seriously that we installed a maritime corridor to get aid into Gaza. So
that didn't work.
It's something that we're going to continue to engage.
And wait,
with.
didn't Israel bomb the shit out of that maritime corridor that you're talking about? Am I misremembering that?
We have people in the region right now engaging on these on these issues that you're raising. So
yeah, Torchy.
Again,
and I hate that too because she's cute.
Review coming from this building, but all the issues that you raise every single day, whether it be here in this briefing room or you know in our office, we take.
Oh, was it storms? Okay.
Wonderful.
Of course.
So if you don't have any legal assessment, how can you reject what's been presented by a legal body, one of the highest? You know, it's an international law court. How can you reject it if you don't have a counter legal assessment? What is is it a political rejection? And if you don't have a legal assessment?
Yeah, again, Fadi, I'm just not going to have more for you to provide other than what I said is that we reject the court's decision. That doesn't necessarily mean that it has to go through a legal process. We can reject decisions from the court that come down in various forms.
Why are you rejecting it?
With our partners, including
Just Kimberly, good evening.
Steps, but I'm just not going to have more for you.
Yeah, my bad for misspeaking. It was storms, not Israel, that caused it to collapse. Here's old lady Graham.
Every meeting I have today, Tom, is a disaster of all different kinds. So the world is in a really dangerous place right now. I appreciate all that my colleagues have done to make America stronger and safer. We'll get to the agenda here, but I woke up this morning stunned, shocked, and disappointed, and quite frankly, worried. The International Criminal Court moved forward and issued
worried that we might enforce the law.
Minister of Defense, former Minister of Defense, Gallant, and the current Prime Minister for using starvation as a method of warfare, crimes against humanity of murder, persecution, and other inhumane acts against the State of Israel and their elected leaders. The State of Israel is not a member of the International Criminal Court, nor are we. One day they may be a Palestinian state, but there's not now. So I filed a brief with the court saying you don't have jurisdiction over Israel. Why does this matter? Whether you like what Israel's doing or not in the war, that's not the debate here. The debate is the court is acting against a sovereign, independent, judicially robust democracy called Israel.
Bullshit.
Using a legal theory that means we're next. So to object to...
Have you tried not funding genocide?
...over Israel is to object to court's jurisdiction over America because we find ourselves in the same spot. The ICC years ago attempted or threatened to come after our soldiers in Afghanistan, and we were able to stand the ICC down. I have been working with a bipartisan group of senators, Senator Blumenthal was one of them, about this matter.
Yeah, now?
Statute, which I now know more than I ever hoped to know, that created the ICC. There's a concept called
I hate this man.
where the statute requires the prosecutor in question to consult with the party
with every fiber of my being
may, in their view, has committed a wrong. They have been talking to Israel obliquely.
Also, how much has he been drinking? Look at his nose. Lindsay, are you okay? Do you have a problem?
But on May 1st, we had 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats engaged with Prosecutor Khan that Israel has not had a chance to submit their side of the story. We were assured by Prosecutor Khan that a team from the ICC
shiny.
would go.
I don't think there's any makeup because it's shiny.
With their legal officials on the ground.
You can see the light bouncing off of it. I'm just saying, people that have, like, I don't even know what causes it, why it affects somebody's nose that way, but people with, like, alcohol issues, they tend to have, like, a nose that puffs up and gets all red. And that's what it looks like. That's exactly what it looks like. You see it in, like, a lot of, like Zizek has the fucking, like, drinker's nose.
They were at the airport and they were told that the team from the ICC is not coming, and Prosecutor Khan announces on CNN his decision to proceed with arrest warrants.
Wow, that's actually what it's called. What it's called. Drinker's nose is an informal term for rhinophyma, a skin condition that causes a nose to appear red, bumpy, and misshapen. While it's often associated with alcoholism, rhinophyma can affect anyone and is just as common in people who don't drink alcohol. Oops, my bad. My bad. So that was me making an assumption on my bed. So it's just as common in people that don't drink alcohol. So sorry, Lindsay.
Not only was I flabbergasted and dumbfounded, I was suspicious. Now what do we know? We know that a couple of weeks before his decision to cancel the meeting with Israel to get their side of the story, allegations of sexual misconduct and other impropriety were made against the prosecutor. There is now an independent investigation of that situation. There is, to be kind about it, a large cloud over him and his actions. The court has set up an independent investigation of this and has now legitimized his work product while he's.
So we're going after the prosecutor now.
This is ass backwards. I supported the court's actions because I don't think there is a rule of law in Russia, Mr. Chairman. But when it comes to Israel, how can you?
So he supported it against Russia, but not against Israel, because there's no rule of law in Russia. What a fucking dumbass. Speaking of Russia, that's where we're going next. Putin is apparently bragging about the new missiles that he shot into Ukraine following the attackums we gave Ukraine last week.
Vladimir Putin says he tested a new intermediate-range missile in a strike on Ukraine. The new attack follows Ukrainian strikes on Russian soil this week that used U.S.-made long-range missiles. Our Charlie D'Agata is following the conflict from the Pentagon.
U.S. officials tell CBS News that the missile that struck the eastern city of Dnipro is what they described as an experimental intermediate-range ballistic missile.
Experimental.
And it's the first of its kind to be used in this conflict. And Pentagon officials said this afternoon Russia had warned the United States before firing that missile through nuclear risk reduction channels. So initial reports out of Ukraine described it as an ICBM. President Zelensky himself saying that the missile had the same kind of parameters, speed, altitude of an intercontinental ballistic missile. That's, of course, a concern because of the range they cover in a short period of time, and that they're capable of carrying a nuclear warhead, not that this one was. But U.S. officials said they had warned Ukraine and allies in recent days that Russia was likely to test a new weapon, and Russia only has a handful of these weapons. In a nationally televised address today, Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed that Russia had launched a new medium-range ballistic missile, these are his words, with a non-nuclear warhead. And he warned there would be more on the way. U.S. defense systems cannot stop them, he said, and Russia would give advance warning before the next launch in order to avoid civilian casualties, he says. So he said it was in Ukrainian strikes inside Russia using U.S. and British-supplied longer-range missiles. He'd already changed the Russian nuclear doctrine, lowering the bar to use nuclear weapons in self-defense. The decision to allow Ukraine to use those U.S.-supplied ATACMS, followed by the British version, the Storm Shadow, came after more than 10,000 North Korean troops entered this fight alongside Russian forces in the Kursk region, U.S. officials say. So on several fronts, this conflict is now escalating, now more than 1,000 days since it began. Scott?
Charlie D'Agata, thank you very much.
Yep, not worrying at all. Meanwhile, there's an investigation ongoing into who cut underseas cables
to determine the cause of damage to two undersea telecommunications cables in the Baltic Sea. One between Finland and Germany was cut on Monday, the other between Lithuania and Sweden on Sunday. Germany has said it suspects sabotage, and attention is now focused on shipping passing near the cables at the time the damage occurred. Well, Merlin Thomas and the BBC Verified team have been investigating.
Germany, Sweden and Finland are all investigating the damage to two undersea communications cables in the Baltic Sea as an act of sabotage. But they haven't pointed to a culprit yet. At BBC Verify, we've been tracking shipping in the area and looking at maps of the undersea cables to understand more about what may have happened. This picture, taken in 2015, shows such an undersea cable being laid out. Now, there's a whole network of cables around the world used for telecommunication services. Now, 2 of the cables you can see here in the Baltic Sea have been damaged. One connects Sweden and Lithuania, and the other links Germany and Finland. Now, the company that owns this one, known as Sea Line 1, says it has been cut around here on the Swedish coast. Now, we don't know exactly where. Now, there are lots of ships in this busy route, but the Danish authorities have said Danish defence are in the presence of one particular ship, the Epung 3. Here it is pictured on Tuesday after the cables were damaged. Now, the Epung 3 is a bulk carrier registered to a company in China. We've contacted that company for comment, but they haven't responded to us. We've used a ship trapping platform called Marine Traffic to follow 3 Danish naval ships which appear to have shadowed this Chinese vessel. Now, here's the Epung 3, and here's one of the Danish Navy ships which appears to have started following it here, and they're both now stationary here. Now, it's important to say we don't know whether the Epung 3 was responsible for the damage, but here's another aspect worth pointing out to you, which is here's its full journey from Russia according to Marine Traffic data. There it is from the port of Russia, following that journey there. And on this map, the ship's signal disappears here. You can see these dotted lines here for about 7.5 hours near the area of the cable. Marine Traffic have told us they're confident that it was turned off during this period. Now, this is very unusual under maritime convention. You have it on all the time unless it's an extraordinary circumstance, like a risk to life. Now, as for the impact of the damage to these cables, it appears it's been fairly limited. The companies operating the 2 damaged cables say they've been able to reroute internet traffic to minimize the impact on consumers. And although they say it can be fixed pretty quickly, it's a reminder of the vulnerability of the cable network and of wider security concerns across Europe.
Huh.
Well, that was Merlin Thomas. Let's speak to Elizabeth Braw, who's Senior Fellow at the Atlantic Council. This is a really intriguing story. Let's go through it stage by stage, because start by just describing to viewers just how important these cables actually are and what they are.
They are indispensable to modern societies. They meaning about 600 undersea cables that transmit modern communications, and they crisscross the world's oceans between all kinds of countries. So there are very long ones that go across large oceans, and then shorter ones like the one that has just been damaged, that went between, or that goes between Sweden and Lithuania. And all these cables have been installed since the 90s, really, when the internet took off, and they are not just indispensable to modern societies. They power everything we do on a daily basis that has anything to do with digital life.
Yes.
But they are also extremely vulnerable because they are set up for a world in peacetime.
Before we talk about vulnerability, to lose both, is that the sort of hybrid warfare that you have written about?
This indeed seems to be a case of hybrid warfare. So if you are a country that wishes to cause harm to another country, and you know that that other country, or indeed a group of countries, are stronger than you militarily, you are then clever and use non-military means, and you can cause considerable harm. For example, by targeting undersea cables, by targeting
T-Minus been laying pipe.
Land, by
Oh shit. All right, let's do some Trump political news real fast, because I came on early because I misjudged my ordering my food, and food has been delivered and I'm fucking starving. So
happening during this show. Just announced, the president-elect has selected Pam Bondi as the next Attorney General of the United States. I'll read from this announcement from the president-elect. I'm proud to announce former Attorney General of the
did pick her for Attorney General.
Bondi as our next Attorney General of the United States. Pam was a prosecutor for nearly 20 years, where she was very tough on violent criminals and made the streets...
From Florida. She was involved in the 2000 election, wasn't she? That's why I know that name. No, it wasn't the 2000 election. She was the Florida Attorney General in the 2010 election. Huh. I feel like she's been in the news before. Oh, she gave a speech at the RNC in 2016, and she led the lock her up chants against Hillary Clinton. So there you go.
For Florida families. Then, as Florida's first female attorney general, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdoses deaths, which have destroyed families in our country. She did such an incredible job that I asked her to serve as our Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission. During my first term, we saved many lives. Again, he goes on to say she's smart and tough and is America first.
How'd you save lives?
Terrific job as Attorney General. Again,
the opioid epidemic was roaring.
Next,
Trump was in office.
President-elect Trump, who obviously saw today that Matt Gaetz pulled his name from nomination as the votes were not there on Capitol Hill in the Senate for Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Pam Bondi, now the name that the President-elect has put.
So as you heard, Matt Gaetz pulling out. I don't want to think about Matt Gaetz pulling out. God damn. There are senators reacting.
He was aware of reality.
Gaetz was aware of reality. Which is not much I can say, which is not something I can say about most Trump supporters. Gaetz withdrew himself. Senator Coons?
First time President Trump was our president, it was 4 years that were never boring, and there were a lot of fast-moving developments. I hope the president-elect will now consider nominating someone for Attorney General who, by character, experience, and qualifications, can fulfill that role and be confirmed.
Are there people in that orbit that you think fit that bill? Is it someone like Todd Blanche?
I don't know everyone.
Pam Bondi.
I mean, he's shown a propensity towards nominating firebrands. He's not shying away, obviously.
Look, I'm sorry? A number of the president-elect's nominees have faced some headwinds already. I'm committed to meeting with and working through an appropriate confirmation process.
Somebody else who's facing headwinds, like Coons just said. Okie, get out of the way, buddy. Headwinds, giggity. Is one Mr. Pete Hegseth, who new reports about his sexual assault have emerged.
President-elect Donald Trump's pick for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, is set to meet with senators on Capitol Hill today. This comes after a California police report revealed new details of the sexual assault allegation made against him back in 2017. His accuser was paid a confidential financial settlement. Hegseth has insisted the sexual encounter was consensual and denies all wrongdoing. Meanwhile, Senate Judiciary Democrats are asking the FBI for files of the Bureau's investigation into this man, Matt Gaetz. He's Trump's pick for Attorney General. Gaetz was on Capitol Hill.
Not anymore.
Senators yesterday. Here's some of what he had to say to reporters.
This is going great.
So this is before the
I'm looking forward to it here.
withdrawal.
Folks have been very.
Hegseth was asked about the report coming out earlier today as he was meeting with senators on Capitol Hill.
We take absolutely nothing for granted, and we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California?
I have, as far as the media is
Go Magna.
I'll keep this very simple. The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared, and that's where I'm going to leave it.
You weren't cleared. What?
Absolutely nothing for granted.
You weren't cleared. Settling a case does not mean you were cleared. Linda McMahon, who once claimed to have a degree in education but does not, being accused of aiding child abuse. Now, when I saw this headline, I was like, Well, shit, I didn't know about those accusations, but I'm guessing, now that I think about it, it's probably the Ring Boy scandal. T-minus, thank you for throwing out the gift sub.
Also new today, a lawsuit raising questions about child safety under Linda McMahon, President-elect Trump's choice to lead the Department of Education.
Tadpole, you're not the first person to ask me what's going on with Dave. Somebody else made me aware of it a couple of days ago. I've talked to Dave. I know what's going on, but I don't think it's my place to say. I think he's going to tell everybody this weekend. I think he's everything's cool now. Everything's copacetic now, I think. I don't think he's in any danger. But some crazy shit been going on. That's what I'll throw out there, because I just, you know, like I think he said he's going to tell everybody on Operation Catterday. So because I even asked him last night, I was like, hey, you didn't do the intellectual Dollar Tree tonight, and he said he didn't have it in him. So I don't know if he'll be doing Colts and Satanic Panic tonight. If he is, I might hop on with him, because I'm gonna cut this short. I'm pretty sure Dave is okay right now, but in a couple weeks he'll be in a much better position, I guess. Yeah, since you guys brought it up, let me go ahead. I'll get the GoFundMe for producer Dave and share it out. I didn't have it handy. I'm sorry. So if you appreciate Dave, do donate. Throw him a $5. I'm not sure, Avalon. I'm not sure, because one thing, I hate to be cryptic, because like he took some legal action that should have cleared everything up, and he should be okay now, I think. But I haven't checked in with him. Once again, I don't really want to speak on it. You know, it's not my place to talk about it. But the link to the GoFundMe, and I think it has a little blurb in there that you might be able to garner some information from. I can say it's not a lover. That was the first thing I thought. The story seems like he might be able to laugh at it, you know, once he gets out of the situation, that like, this is a crazy spot I got put in. But like, it's kind of scary at the moment. I'm pretty sure he's safe, Avalon, and perhaps we'll be on tonight to bring you guys some cult and satanic panic content. But thank you guys for reminding me of that, actually, because he specifically asked me to share that out, and Dave has been wonderful to me. Linda McMahon, the former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, Trump's pick to head the Department of Education, accused of enabling child abuse.
Also new today, a lawsuit raising questions about child safety under Linda McMahon, President-elect Trump's choice to lead the Department of Education. She's the former CEO of WWE, facing a lawsuit now over allegations that she allowed a WWE employee to exploit young boys during her time in charge. The suit claims
this is called the Ring Boy scandal, and it happened in the late 80s, and apparently Linda was heard joking about it into the 90s. It's kind of disgusting.
the employee used his job as a ringside announcer to get boys to help set up the wrestling rings, but the work was actually a cover for abuse. 5 men who were between 13 and 15 years old at the time say they were taken advantage of. McMahon denies the claims, but the lawsuit says she failed to protect the kids.
Yep. Education secretary, guys. The recount in Pennsylvania officially over. Bob Casey has conceded to Republican Dave McCormick.
I just called Dave McCormick to congratulate him on his election to represent Pennsylvania in the United States Senate. As the first count of ballots is completed, Pennsylvanians can move forward with the knowledge that their voices were heard, whether their vote was the first to be counted or the last. This race was one of the closest.
Apparently, the recount gained this motherfucker 4 votes. He got 4 extra votes out of the recount.
In our Commonwealth's history, decided by less than 1/4 of a point. I'm grateful to the thousands of people who worked to make sure that every eligible vote cast could be counted, including election officials in all 67 counties. When a Pennsylvanian takes the time to cast a legal vote, often waiting in long lines and taking time away from their work and family, they deserve to know that their vote will count.
Shut up. Loser. We're still waiting for a call in several House races. One of the ones that is most hotly contested is out in California.
After the election, believe it or not, it is still a nail-biter in the 45th congressional district race between Democrat Derek Tran and Republican incumbent Michelle Steele. Tran is still ahead, but only by less than 500 votes, with 97% voting in. We expect another update today or tomorrow on that.
That was earlier today. Okay, real quick. I was gonna cut the show off there, but there's some things I want to touch on. We're gonna do a couple crime stories here. If you guys missed it, I came on early because I misjudged my ordering food. I haven't eaten all day and I'm starving, and my food is here. The 18th richest man in the world has been indicted.
One of Asia's richest men has just been indicted in New York on federal bribery charges. Gautam Adani is the founder of the multinational Adani Group. It's a conglomerate that runs a lot. Air and seaports, it manufactures weapons, packages food, but makes most of its money outside India.
Hell of a mustache.
American prosecutors claim that he offered bribes to Indian government officials to secure solar energy contracts and then lied about it.
That's the face I'm going to be making when I get my sub here in a second. I got a Publix sub. It's a steak sub with this fucking peppercorn mayonnaise. It's amazing. It's the best sub I've ever eaten in my life. My mouth is watering talking about it right now. I can't wait to eat that sub. All right, last night we did the story about Susan Smith being denied parole, and how I missed this from 2 weeks ago, I will never know. Apparently, Susan Smith had a sexual relationship with a corrections captain, and he was interviewed about whether she was ready to be paroled or not.
When and how did you meet Susan Smith?
I first met Susan Smith probably my second or third night on duty at the Women's Center. She had come up for medication call, which was done every afternoon or evening at 6 p.m. for the nighttime.
You gotta love that he's on national TV. Well, I mean, I guess it's local TV, available to a national audience with his 12 grandchildren's names all on his shirt while he's talking about fucking a convict.
And we always had to have somebody there to watch over them, make sure they took their medicine. Medication was dumped into their hand out of a little medicine cup, and somebody had to watch them swallow it, and then check to make sure they swallowed. And so that's the first time I saw Susan Smith, was at medication calls.
Were you aware of what she was charged with at that time? And
oh, come on, everybody knew.
History, having lived in South Carolina?
Yes, I was very much aware of her, along with several other ladies that were there, what their charges were. Because when you have somebody murder a child in South Carolina, it hits the news.
It hit the national news.
Is that viewed different among inmates versus other crimes?
In the male institutions, yes. I didn't see it in the female institution. I didn't see Susan being treated any different than somebody there for drug charges.
Odd.
At one point in time, her cellmate was also charged with killing her husband.
Oh, well, that's different.
Serving life. Then she had been there 10 or 15
She might have been justified.
years, and nobody treated her different either. I can't think of the girl's name now.
We'll get to the fucking part.
Autistic boy in Eastover back in 95, 96. She was treated just like anybody else. So if that had been at a male institution, we'd have probably had one or two instances where when they first got into general population that they were taught that children are to be left alone.
Did she had issues?
Oh, yes.
During her incarceration.
She had quite a few, especially in the later years. Mainly after I left, her disciplinary record is extensive.
Really?
And the online record only begins in 2011 when they started digitizing all of it into the what they called the CRT system and public access. But before that, I know her file was, even in 95, was pretty thick, because back then we kept paper files on everybody and they had to travel with them. Even if they went to a medical appointment, that paper file had to go with them. So hers had already started to gain quite a bit of paperwork in it. A lot of it was dealing with her mental and medical issues. But and the different trips to different facilities for treatment.
That's not uncommon, and that continues even today.
Even today it continues. Anyone can go public access to the South Carolina Department of Corrections.
Get to the fucking.
And what's on file.
Also, why weren't you charged?
One of the other things other than disciplinary record is their, what they call transfer record. And she has numerous trips to different facilities for medicals. I'm in the dorm with this officer on this shift, or there's these two girls are constantly bickering or fighting at night or whatever the case, that just made her friendly, approachable, and likable.
Oh, here we go.
She was always happy. I can't say that I ever saw her in a sad or depressed mood.
We saw her cry at the hearing yesterday.
Now, occasionally she would talk about how she wished she was in a different unit, maybe because she was unhappy with what was happening in hers, but she was in a unit that specialized. Everyone in that unit had some type of mental issue that needed to be watched.
And you took advantage of her to get your dick wet.
Do more checks on their individual cell. Major, who was over all of security for the institution.
Yeah, you're boring me. You had relations with Susan Smith, though. That was his Taylor business. Tadpole. We had the same thought. Okay, we've been following the story of the Wisconsin man who we thought died in a kayaking incident and apparently faked his own death to run away to, what was it, Uzbekistan? He's now sent a video to the cops
You have been knee-deep in this news conference that's been going on here for about the last hour or so, so you have to bring us up to speed on this story that has just been wild. The kayaker that was missing, but then turned out faked his own death. So what do we know now?
Yeah, so let's just get into this here. Within the last hour, the Green Lake County
Busama, welcome in.
Like Fox Valley
I love you too, friend.
like we've been talking about.
I love you so much, I would give you a titty slap.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Welcome in, welcome in.
Just gave an update on this case, and I mean, seriously, bombshell. Turns out they've been in almost constant contact with Ryan Borgwart, the man, like you mentioned, that faked his own death.
We've been in constant contact.
August, he had pretended to drown in Green Lake. He did not drown. He is alive and well and somewhere in Eastern Europe, and they're not exactly sure where, but we have a video just now from Ryan himself that he sent to the sheriff's office. The audio does suck, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm hoping to get a raw version of this later, but this is what we've got for now. Listen closely.
Good evening, it's Ryan Borgwart. Today, hello, and today is November 11th. It's approximately 10 a.m. by you guys. I'm in my apartment. I am safe, secure. Oh, this.
So if you could
abandoned his wife and kids, faked his death.
secure, and I hope this works. So the sheriff's office had clearly been asking him for, you know, proof of life, like prove that it's you, prove that you're, you know, actually alive and okay. But like I mentioned to Amy, we've learned today that they were having daily communications with Ryan. It sounds like what I'm gleaning from the press conference this morning, they were able to get in contact with him with the help of a Russian woman. You may remember that the investigators learned he had been in contact with a woman in Uzbekistan before his disappearance. It's not clear right now if the woman in Uzbekistan and the woman that helped police connect with him after his disappearance are the same person, but we might learn a little bit more about that with some follow-up questions with the sheriff. I had to dip out of that press conference, so maybe somebody asked about it. I'll go back and listen to that a little bit more later. Something else we learned today, we learned exactly how Ryan pulled this off. I mean, we've talked a lot about this. I know the area well. It's my hometown area. It's a very popular lake. My biggest question was, how the heck did he do this? I mean, there are people out there all the time, especially in August. So, like I said, he'd been talking to the deputy, and he shared with the deputy how he did it, and the sheriff himself today relayed that play-by-play. So Leo, if we could roll this soundbite.
He stashed an e-bike near the boat launch. He paddled his kayak in a child-size floating boat out into the lake. He overturned the kayak and dumped his phone in the lake. He paddled the inflatable boat to shore and got on his e-bike and rode through the night to Madison. In Madison, he boarded a bus and went to Detroit and then the Canadian border. He continued on the bus to an airport and got on a plane. We are continuing to verify this information, trying to put the dots together. But we feel that this was Ryan's way that he could tell the entire country how he did it.
Fantastic.
I mean, it's crazy. What do you think of that?
Do you remember? And sorry if you said this already. Why did he do this?
They asked the sheriff that today, if they've gleaned any sense of motive here.
Pussy.
They really haven't. It's, I don't know. It's really confusing. We don't know why. Ryan was telling the deputy that he feels bad, quote unquote, for his family. He left behind a wife and 3 kids, and they're all like.
What I was getting at is, you know, clearly there must have been something there, but okay.
It's really not clear right now exactly what his motive was. Something else that I know we had been talking about, he had taken out a fairly decent sized life insurance policy earlier in the year. The sheriff said today that that was not for Ryan himself. He took it out and that money was for his family, his wife and 3 kids. So he didn't necessarily take all that money and run, but you'll remember the sheriff
still fraud
in earlier press conferences that Ryan had moved sums of money from his accounts here to different international bank accounts.
Yeah. I think what's frustrating for a lot of people too is the amount of resources that have been put into trying to piece all of.
Oh, it could have been the insurance company that he like even figured out he was still alive. I mean, I don't put that on the cops. I don't think the cops are competent enough.
This together, when I'm sure people in that community especially feel like there are things that they, you know, that are important to them that that they're missing out on now because of all these resources. So I'm guessing he'll be probably.
But then again, there probably hasn't been enough time to get the insurance company involved because this happened in what, August?
He isn't already charged with.
So interesting you mentioned that because apparently Ryan had told the deputy that he didn't expect police would search for him any more than 2 weeks. He thought they would look for him in the lake for 2 weeks and then be like, well, we give up. We might have mentioned this previously, but Green Lake is the deepest lake in Wisconsin. And so Ryan has told the police department that that is why he picked Green Lake. He thought that they would just give up after a little bit and let it be. And the sheriff was like, you know, you picked the wrong department, sir. But he has, because of this, he has been charged in Green Lake County with obstruction of justice for faking his own death. County's also seeking restitution payments around like $40,000. Because like you said, I mean, tons and tons and tons of resources have been put into finding him, all for it to just be a big scheme.
This poor family.
I want to see what the woman was that he ran away for. I want to see what she ended up looking like. Holiday sent me this on Twitter earlier. So fucking adorable. With the ducks? Oh shit. I thought it was going to replay for me. Give me duckies back. I'm sorry I'm wrapping up early. I did a stupid. Mistimed my food delivery. I'm starving. Food is in there waiting on me. So I'm going to go eat. If you missed the beginning of the show, it's on YouTube. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's our. Oh, wait a minute. I got to raid somebody. Really tried to rush to get out of here. God damn it. Furry Friday, but I don't think duckies are all that furry. If you're watching on Twitch, I've never raided into him before. We're gonna go see Chapo Trap House. I haven't even listened to him in years. I used to listen to him all the time. So go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We will see you tomorrow night. Oh, wait a minute. Tomorrow's Friday. I'll see you Saturday night. We'll watch some wrestling. We'll do some Troll Patrol on Sunday night.